Hey, welcome back to the print house, guys. Today I'm doing a video on the maintenance box changing and a little tips and tricks and troubleshooting while you're doing your maintenance box. And I'll just explain when you need to do it and when and how. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a spare maintenance box that goes in the back of the Roland printer. It's right behind the ink. It's pretty self-explanatory. You don't change that until it tells you with the BN20 Win utility. So don't try and change it in between it telling you, okay? And there's a reason for that, because if you do it without telling you, then you have to like turn it on and off, do all this weird stuff. I haven't, that's what I read and I saw I don't have to. Okay, so there's some important steps you need to take care when you're doing this and to keep out for. So I got my unit used, right? Okay, so then what happened was I noticed my test prints were coming out really flooded. So they were missing prints. Let me show you on this right here. So if you look at this print, you can see how it's missing those lines. So out of nowhere, it was doing that. So what happens is when the BN20 is not being used, it's doing its self-cleaning, right? So when it's doing its self-cleaning, it's drawing ink through your ink cap station from the ink heads into the waste box. So what happens is if your waste box becomes full, it's gonna drain less to the cap station until it tells you to change it. But when you get close to it, it's gonna flood the cap station more and not drain when you're close to getting your waste box full. Now, I ran into a weird situation because I did get this machine as a used demo, right? So I have a spare box and a brand new set of foam pads here, right? And there's a few things you got to look out for. Okay, so for one, I took out the old box. You just pull it out, right? And I opened it up and I started removing the pads. Actually, before I did that, I had a spare box with used pads in it that I got with it. So what I did was I took those out and pay attention how they were located in there, because in these ink or waste box, there's a drain hole. That's what plugs in it and spits the ink in right into the box, right? So it's very important to know that, because when you buy these, you see a letter T. The T means top, and that little F means front. Now, this is going to be your front. The drain that goes in is going to be facing the front of your machine, and that's the way your pad's going to go in. So when you get these pads, don't take them out of order, because there's little these four bottom ones will have a notch. Those four bottom ones have to face forward because there's a little notch in the plastic there. Okay, and then the next three, you got that channel. See how there's a channel here? So that channel is going to line up with the drain hole that comes in on the waste box. So you got one that will line up to that hole, right? Then you got one that faces the opposite way. So basically, it allows the ink to go in that hole and then just drop down. It just makes it easier for it to disperse the ink inside there. And then you got the last one that says T with the notch, which goes front. So pay attention to that. I didn't see any videos on this, how to insert these pads. If I did, I missed it. Okay. So like I said, you get the pad, it come like this. If you're not, there is tricks to do, and you don't have to buy these. People are doing things. I'm not going to tell you how to do those things. I recommend just buying the pads from Roland or from any authorized site to do it the right way. But there are hacks. I'm just going to put that out there. You don't have to, spend $30, $40 on these pads every time, or a whole box. I'm reusing a box, okay? So I have one box and I have an extra box. So like I said, you want to pay attention to these notches right here and the hole on the third one, second one out, and the top. So it's going to go just like this. If you look at my video, this is going to be the front. So when you put them all in, you could put them in one at a time. Just flip it over and just make sure you put them in each one like that. Okay, so like I was saying, when I found out this was starting to go bad, the Win utility, it always tells you how much percentage you have left of your pad, your waste box, right, with the pads filling up. So I kept an eye on that, and then I noticed I got flooded out on my test print, as you saw there. So I did a manual cleaning, and I poured fluid on the ink cap station. That'll be in another video. And I noticed it wasn't draining that fast. So it's probably because the box was full. So, okay, so I got to the point now I'm changing the box, right? So I took out the old box and I put it on the table and I opened it up because there's 4 screws to open it up. And I just wanted to see the position and orientation of the pads inside. And as I'm opening up and taking them out, I'm noticing the pads are in wrong. So basically, how I explain these pads go in, this comes like this with these letters on it. They had this channel blocking the hole. So it was barely blocking that hole, and it bunched up. So the ink was forcing it to mess up. So you don't want that. You don't want that to happen. You got to make sure you put these in right, because it's designed to disperse the ink inside your waste box, efficiently. So what happened was my pads that were in the box were not that bad. They were maybe 50% used. I know that because this one is very saturated, and the ones I took out are at least half as saturated. And you feel them. They're heavy. They're dark. When you go closer to the bottom, the first 4 get dark, then the other 3 stay lighter. Okay. So what I did was I put them all right back in, rearranged them, and fixed the ones with the channel to line up correctly. And my ink cap station instantly stopped retaining fluid in there as much, ink and whatever. So I was like, wow, okay, so that it really matters on what direction these go back in, guys. So I put it in the way it's supposed to be, according to the documents on these. And then I did my cleaning, I did my test prints, and everything came out fine. So also, you want to replace the cap station about every 6 months, they say, if you're using your printer every day. Okay, it's going to tell you to do certain things. It's going to tell you to do maintenance. It's going to tell you to change things. So I don't know if it tells you about the ink cap station, but when you get to a point where your ink cap station needs to be replaced, is you got the cap station sits underneath the print head, and what happens is it's got 2 hoses that go down, pumps right into the waste and through the system. So if those lines get blocked, or if the cap station itself is dried up and the lines don't drain, you need a new cap station, because the fluid's going to sit on top there and it's going to wash out your print heads. So every 6 months they recommend that. It's about $90 to $100. I'll say $90 to $120, depending if you buy from China or U.S. I found that you're going to pay a little bit extra in the U.S. I don't know why. Maybe it's shipping. Who knows? But that's one thing to look out for. So if you notice your cap station, just by default, if you're in 4 to 6 months into it, realize you got to change it. Okay. I've had my machine 4 or 5 months now or something like that. I don't know. And I don't know how long it wasn't changed before that. So if you're doing your cleanings and you're not cleaning up your test prints, and you change your waste box because it told you, the next thing to do is just replace your cap station, your cap. And then basically it's not a hard job to do. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about replacing that. You're just opening up a couple panels, you're reconnecting hoses and a spring, and you're putting it back on. And then what that allows you now is your ink and fluid to flow through the cap station down now without being stuck in there and soaking up your print heads. So I just wanted to talk about that today. And go over that whole information on the head. Now I'm going to go over here and show you where this maintenance box goes. So looking at your machine, see, I got mine on wheels so I can just move it out real easy. You leave the machine on, and it's right here. You just pull it out, and you put your new one in. Have a spare ready to go, so your machine's not down waiting. You don't want to have to go through process of, you can if you're quick, but you don't want to leave it. They say if you don't have a waste box on hand, shut off the printer until you get one, because what's going to happen is if you leave your printer on, it's going to do its self-cleaning test, and if your ink is full, it's not going to be able to do those tests, or I'm sorry, those self-cleaning modes, because the waste box is full. It's going to tell the printer that. So if you don't have one ready, or you don't have one a spare, shut down the printer. Okay, now again, if you have a spare, or if you're going to reuse this, do it fast. So that's it. That's looking at the back of the machine, and it's right there. You just slide it out and slide it in. There's nothing special. There is 4 screws on top of it to take that panel off, because you do need to put the panel on here. I only have the one panel, so I was going to put the new ones in here. I cleaned this up really nice and put the panel back on, and then no problem. So I'm just going to show you the last few steps of inserting these in here, okay? So you got the 4 underneath here without the channels, right? Like I showed you previously. So now I got 3 left. The first channel one, you want to face away from the hole. See how the hole is right above it? You want to face away. So what that allows it to do, when you put this one in, that faces the hole. Remember I told you it has the F? You want to face the F to the channel. Now you see how the channel is perfectly lined up to that hole. You can see. If you can see. So the hole lines up to the channel. Then what happens is it has another hole in the center, and that allows the ink to go back on that pad on the bottom and start dispersing it down. So you don't want to obstruct that channel hole coming through here. So, and then you put your last one. Remember the notch up there? Let's put your last one up top. You don't have to push it down too far because you don't want to obstruct that hole. Okay, so that's it. That's installing the foam pads in your maintenance, your waste box. That's it, guys. I just wanted to show you that little maintenance waste box tips and tricks for your Roland BN20. And again, like, subscribe, hit that notification, and I always appreciate you guys coming. So until the next one, I'll see you then. The Print House.